As peace talks between the US and Iranian officials are due to begin in Pakistan this weekend. We've been hearing again from President Trump accusing Iran of doing a very poor job in not allowing oil to pass through the Strait of Hormuz. He claims it's a direct breach of the fragile ceasefire agreement brokered by the two sides. The disputed status of Lebanon, meanwhile, in the ceasefire is creating a lot of tension. There's been fresh fighting overnight between Israel and Hezbollah. We have some latest pictures for you from Beirut, where a massive cleanup and recovery effort is underway. If you look at these pictures, you can see the extent of the damage from those Israeli strikes. And it's important to note, it comes after President Trump was quoted as saying Israel would be more low-key in Lebanon. Comments widely seen as him asking Israel's Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu to be more restrained. The US State Department said Israel and Lebanon would hold talks in Washington next week. What we're hearing from the Lebanese Health Ministry, these figures came through yesterday. More than 300 people killed in Israeli strikes on Wednesday and over 1,000 injured. Israel saying it is targeting Hezbollah military sites, but this was densely populated areas of the Lebanese capital. Well, let's update you on the talks that are due to take place. We can take you to Carrie Davies, who joins us now from Islamabad. Carrie, do we know anything more today about what these talks will look like, what kind of shape they'll have and who will take part?
Well, Lucy, at the moment, we've had no formal schedule announced for these talks, and we've also had no absolute certainty of when everyone will arrive. Yesterday, we'd heard from the Iranian ambassador here in Pakistan, who'd put a post on social media saying that the delegation would be arriving yesterday evening. That was then deleted within the course of an hour, and at the moment, we have had no formal recognition that, or formal announcement that a delegation from Iran has arrived here in Pakistan. We've had no images of arrivals on Pakistani TV. We've had no messages from government officials or government ministers welcoming any of the high-profile guests of the country. So at the moment, there's no suggestion or no confirmation that they are already here in Islamabad. As when it comes to the American delegation, we did of course get confirmation earlier this week from the White House that Vice President J.D. Vance would be the one leading the talks from their side, also accompanied by Special Envoy Steve Witkoff and Jared Kushner as well. And the Iranian Deputy Foreign Minister, speaking to the BBC yesterday, said that if it was J.D. Vance that was leading from the American side, then they would be putting forward their parliamentary speaker to lead the talks on the Iranian side. At the moment, very much posing that as a sort of equivalent, as a tit for tat. If they provide one, we will provide at this level as well. At the moment, we have had no confirmation either that any of the senior representatives from America have arrived here yet. But we did, of course, hear from the White House saying that they thought the talks were happening on Saturday. And so the expectation is that there is still plenty of time for that delegation to arrive here in Islamabad. Meanwhile, I have been around the city this morning seeing some of the preparations that are already underway. A large amount of what's known as the red zone, which is where a lot of government buildings here in Pakistan are based, as well as many of the foreign embassies. Large amounts of that area have been entirely closed off. We have police, army, and also the paramilitary, the rangers here in Pakistan that are providing a lot of that security around this district, around this area. International media has started to arrive here in Islamabad as well to cover those talks. So at the moment, Islamabad is waiting for more information and for the arrivals of those high-profile guests.
Carrie, back to you when we do know more. Thank you so much for that. Well, it feels very fragile, this ceasefire in the Gulf today. Part of the tension around it all is, of course, what is going on in Lebanon at the moment. Let's take you to our Middle East correspondent, Lena Sinjab, who is in Beirut. Lena, what happened overnight?
Well, it is really tense here, Lucy. I mean, that this is a country that doesn't feel it is part of a ceasefire or that any peace is coming soon. There were airstrikes throughout the night in the south of Lebanon, from both sides. I mean, although relatively you can't compare the rockets fired from Hezbollah into Israel with the damage that the Israeli strikes are causing in the south of Lebanon, or what it had caused, on Wednesday throughout the day. And yesterday, also here in the south of Beirut, there were evacuation orders given to various areas in Dahiya neighborhood, which is the south of Beirut, mainly Hezbollah residential area. This forced thousands of people to rush for their safety. They were stranded in their cars throughout the night, although a strike did not happen. The drone was flying over the whole evening yesterday, and this is a sound that makes all the Lebanese on alert, because this is usually followed by attacks. So the whole situation here is very tense. The government is still counting the dead. The number is rising. Hospitals are calling on people to come and identify dead bodies. The whole burial situation hasn't started yet, because people are still searching for their loved ones, missing ones. It's a country and the nation in shock, in trauma, and they feel they're left alone to face this war without anyone able to stop it.
Lena, now though we have the prospect of talks with Israel, this is something that the president has been calling for and Benjamin Netanyahu is now offering. But what can the government give to Israel during these talks, given that so far they've been unable to disarm Hezbollah?
Yeah, I think, Lucy, this is the key point. I think it's unprecedented to have direct talks between Israel and Lebanon. This is a country at war since the 80s with Israel. So this is really a huge step. But the problem is Hezbollah. I mean, the government could not disarm Hezbollah, could not stop Hezbollah's firing rockets into Israel. They couldn't even expel the Iranian ambassador, even though when they decided so. Hezbollah takes order and acts in alliance with Iran. So Iran is the key partner here to tell Hezbollah to stop, so that the negotiations would continue. But the issue of disarming Hezbollah is really critical. This is something that has been decided in the 2024 war and hasn't been implemented. And it is hard to see how it's going to, be implemented, possibly in the south of Lebanon. But how are you going to stop a whole group that has been built, growing and recruiting and being trained by Iran, paid by Iran since the 1980s?
Lena, thank you so much. Really good to get your analysis there. Well, let's get more analysis from Jerusalem. We can speak to our correspondent, Daniel de Simone, who is there. Daniel, how is it being squared in Israel today that there's this offer of talks being made to Lebanon, but airstrikes continue?
Well, that's right. There was a statement from the Israeli government last night from Benjamin Netanyahu saying that he's instructed his cabinet to seek talks with Lebanon about disarming Hezbollah. There's been previous statements from the Lebanese president, Joseph Aoun, including some comments that were released yesterday, where he's saying that the only solution to the situation in Lebanon is a ceasefire and then talks with Israel. If those talks go ahead, there's talk of it being next week in the United States, but it's said to be reported to be at an ambassadorial level rather than at a leadership level. This all comes during this huge dispute about whether Lebanon is included in the ceasefire deal involving Iran, the US, and Israel. The US and Israel saying it's not included. Pakistan, which mediated the deal, saying it was included. Iran also saying that. And that's obviously a key dispute ahead of this weekend and the talks that are meant to take place in Pakistan. Israel saying it's going to carry on with its war in Lebanon against Hezbollah. It's occupied a large part of southern Lebanon. It said that the hundreds of thousands of people who've been displaced will not be allowed to return until it decides that Hezbollah no longer poses a threat. And of course, it carried out those devastating airstrikes in Lebanon on Wednesday, which killed over 300 people, attacks which have been condemned around the world.